Hi, Coleman. So nice to have you here again. Nice to see you again. I think that's our third time we have a Skype chat. So let me start quickly with a first question. Like, what are the peculiarities of Origin Protocol, your project? What differentiates you?
I think the main thing that differentiates us from other marketplace protocols on the blockchain is that we have this concept of fractional usage and fractional ownership and the concept of scheduling. So most other marketplace protocols that are being developed on the blockchain out there right now, you can do a simple marketplace like buying and selling items, but you can't rent an item or you can't rent a home or a car. You cannot schedule something. So I think by adding these concepts of like scheduling and fractional ownership and fractional usage to our protocols, it opens up way more applications instead of just a market where you buy and sell items. The whole sharing economy world opens up. So I think that's what differentiates us from other marketplace protocols on the blockchain.
Okay, so you are basically targeting everything which is sharing economy. This is your like slogan basically, right? So the
I
Airbnb,
think
the Uber, the anything else, right?
that's what differentiates us, but we can also do the traditional marketplace, like a Craigslist type marketplace,
Okay,
which is
Craigslist too.
what most
Okay.
other people are focused on. We can do that, but we have extra functionality on top of it.
Okay. So another aspect I think I understood from your approach is like 100% open source, 100% decentralized, so no hybrid softwares. That means that it's gonna be also you're gonna go on the market a bit later than others, right? So can you give me an idea when you think you're gonna see something actually working based on your platform? Just ever like roughly.
So we have a live demo up right now on testnet. It's a simple, like Craigslist style marketplace, although it looks a lot better. And it's completely decentralized. It's running on Ethereum testnet. And IPFS is the data layer that we're using. So IPFS is a decentralized data protocol. It stands for Interplanetary File System. So when you load up our demo and you purchase these test items with your testnet ether, there's no central web service spinning this marketplace up. It's completely decentralized. So it's possible right now that we could have a marketplace that's completely decentralized. It's just that we're working on writing these other protocols that I talked about fractional usage and ownership, and we are working on a SDK, like a software development kit, so that other developers and other companies can spin up their own version of their decentralized marketplace. And we're hoping to release the first version of our SDK and to finish the first versions of our protocols around the middle of this year. And like you said before, we're an open source software project. All of our code is on GitHub. All of the stuff that we're doing, all of our development's out in the open. So anyone is free to contribute or take a look at what we're building.
I've noticed in your Slack channel that there's many people coming in and just offering their own help for free, basically.
Hmm.
And please confirm to me, this is a very strong point for you because that means you can have access to a lot of help, basically, because it's open source, and compared to others who have actually to pay for development and go in a more traditional relationship, like company versus employee. Is this in the long term something which is going to make you much stronger than the others?
I think so, and I think when you are working on a project as ambitious as ours, that's at the protocol level, that's going to apply for a lot of different applications and different projects. We very much want this to be open source. We're very philosophically committed to this being open source. We don't want anyone to own these protocols or own the platform. If you think about, the internet, Web 1.0, that was all open source development, and we think that's a lot, philosophically, that's a lot better than kind of what you saw with Web 2.0, where it was much more walled garden, much more proprietary platforms. Things couldn't talk to each other as well. I mean, the services may have gotten better, but um, it's very hard when you have these walled gardens and all these walls up. It's hard for people to collaborate. It's you might get the protocols change on you without any of your own input. So yeah, we really think that open source is the way to go, especially when you're developing something as hopefully as widely used as marketplace protocols. We want any developer to be able to use our protocols and contribute.
Just trying to simplify this for non-technical people, you're basically saying that, correct me if I'm wrong, you're building a protocol like email is a protocol, like TCP IP is a protocol, any software which is under the internet, and other people are building Facebook on top or Google on top or whatever on top. You are the email here.
So Web 1.0 was pretty much all these protocols like HTTP, email. So these were all open source projects. People came together without any sort of financial incentive to write these protocols that could be used by the public. They're permissionless. Anyone can send an email. You don't need someone's permission to send an email. Whereas Web 2.0, you saw the rise of companies like Facebook and Google, where you had to sign up and get their permission to send a Facebook message or to use one of their services. And these weren't open source projects. Their code is proprietary. So if you're developing a marketplace on Facebook, one day they might just change the way they do things, and then your marketplace, your code, your business will no longer work. I know this is a big problem in the publishing business. Like there's all these articles coming out all the time how newspapers, they built their business to cater to Facebook's algorithms, and then Facebook changed their algorithms, and then they saw a huge drop in revenue. So yeah, it's a very different way of doing business, and I think for something on the protocol layer, it's very important that it's open source and that it's not controlled by a private corporation and not open to the public.
Well, I think that the big news here is that people who build the protocol for email or for internet or every basic protocol, as you said, they didn't make money out of it. They didn't make it for the money, right? But today, with the blockchain and with the cryptocurrencies, there is also a financial incentive. So if your protocol works and is widely adopted, your token will be also widely adopted and acquire a lot of value. So this seems to me, please let me know what you think about it. This seems to me that it makes protocol building much, much more powerful than before.
I don't want to comment on the Origins token, their potential value going up or anything like that. So I can't comment anything about that. But I do think the idea of tokenomics, is very powerful. It builds in programmatic incentives for good behavior, and you can build in disincentives for bad behavior. I mean, email was a free open protocol at first, and when people realized that you could make money off of advertising via emails, there was a huge problem with spam emails. I mean, there's still a huge problem with spam emails. So actually, some of the early protocols that led to the development of Bitcoin, some of the hashing protocols were actually developed to combat email spam. Because, I mean, if you can imagine, if you have to pay a token to send someone an email, spamming 100 million emails is not a viable business anymore. So, yeah, it's not just about rewarding the developers for their contributions. It's about giving certain incentives and disincentives for all participants in the system.
Yeah, you're actually rebalancing, because again, I'm just trying to simplify it for people who are listening. The people who invented email are not millionaires or billionaires. The people who used email to build a business on top became millionaires, right? I'm simplifying very much here, but that's kind of the bottom line. So nowadays we can build. You are building a protocol, and the token helps balance the power, So the hope is that we can build finally protocols which are not used and abused as the other protocols were abused in the past. So internet started as a very decentralized thing and became very centralized, probably because there was no money involved in making protocols, and there was a lot of money involved in making businesses.
Sure.
So the hope is that there's going to be a more balanced approach.
Yeah, the internet as it is today is completely financially, it's completely based on advertising. So
Yeah.
that includes email advertising, regular website advertising. So there was this system that developed to kind of finance businesses on the internet through advertising. But you're right. The way that it's set up now isn't very fair or open or transparent. Like, people collect your data and sell it to advertisers. You don't really have a say in it. So with a crypto economic model, a token economic model, you can actually program rules for this kind of behavior. So in the future, you may be able to own your browsing data and be able to sell it if you want to an advertiser. Or, I mean, there's many applications, but just the idea of having a token and some sort of incentive and disincentive model, like, programmed into software, into code, and have that be in the protocol layer, is very powerful. Like, it's a completely different model, and it remains to be seen what the consequences are. But a lot of very smart people are very excited about.
Yeah, so that's actually a very long-term game, but you are kind of, it seems to me, you are taking the long approach, but the more powerful approach.
Yeah, I mean, what we're building is it's a very significant engineering challenge. So we wanted, if we're going to work on these very hard problems, we wanted to work on something very big and very beneficial to the world.
Can we say you're basically trying to fix the internet? Is this too much?
I think that we're trying to fix peer-to-peer marketplaces.
Peer-to-peer marketplace. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Which are actually, if you need to fix them, it means they are actually a bit broken right now. What do you find broken in the model right now in peer-to-peer?
Well, I can tell a story that one of our co-founders, Josh, always tells people when describing what we're building. A couple months ago, he got in a car with an Uber driver who was the 30th ever Uber driver on the platform.
Yeah.
And that guy was integral to building the success of the Uber company, because if Uber didn't have drivers early on, they would have gone nowhere. But he's making less money today than he was when he first started. Yeah. And he's angry about how Uber has treated him as one of the first drivers on the platform. So the kind of one-liner I like to give to people is that peer-to-peer marketplaces shouldn't be peer to giant corporate monopoly to peer places. Once these companies control the marketplaces, they tend to just be rent-seeking, which means they don't add value to the marketplace participants. They just extract value. Like Uber or Airbnb will just extract 10, 20, 30% of the transaction just for facilitating it, just for allowing the people to meet up. And Uber doesn't own cars. They don't have a fleet of employees as drivers. It's all just matchmaking and providing this platform. And we think that if there are these open source protocols that allow people to do that without a middleman like Uber taking a huge cut, people are going to change to that system. It's more fair, it's more open, and it's more transparent.
Oh, I'm using this example from Josh very often because it's really powerful. I'm saying, the same thing applying to Airbnb. The first 50 or 100 Airbnb hosts should be millionaires, and they are not, right? So it is really a powerful narrative. What do you think are the dangers of, okay, your direction is pretty clear, and of course there's going to be a lot of resistance. What can break this? What can not work in this project?
I think the most significant challenges we face are engineering challenges. We need to write these protocols. It's a very difficult task, and we need Ethereum to scale, which is, we know a lot of very smart people are working on scaling solutions for Ethereum, but they're not here yet. So that's still an open question. If we're going to have something that can scale and perform for something like an Uber on a blockchain. Right now, that's impossible. You can't have Uber on the blockchain. So there's still a lot of work to be done engineering-wise. I think another significant challenge is user adoption. Right now, it's not very user-friendly to use a decentralized application. Most people have a lot of trouble even figuring out what Ethereum is or how to buy any sort of token. So I think there's going to have to be a lot of not only user education, but we're going to have to make these things a lot easier to use and a lot more user friendly. Um, and I think the last challenge is just regulatory. Like there's always a danger of governments really not liking this and trying to shut everything down.
Do you also need users to understand the advantages of the centralization? I tell you why I have this question. I'm a bit worried because people tend to understand why privacy is important when it's too late and why decentralization is important when it's too late. They just want to use easy products and then they pay the consequences. We pay the consequences when it's too late. Do we need to educate people before it's too late, or kind of the product will take care of everything? Is there any danger in centralization because people don't care about the centralization here?
Well, I think one of the reasons that people will care is because decentralized marketplaces, they'll take less fees. Hopefully, they're not going to be as rent seeking. They're not going to take this giant 20% cut. So if there's a product that works that's comparable to Airbnb or Uber, and it's not taking a huge cut, it's going to be more competitive because just for price, like people are going to choose the cheaper option. And I also think that centralization kind of it gives a worse user experience because it's these global corporate monopolies running things. Why should Airbnb in San Francisco be the same as Airbnb in Italy or in Rome? Or why should Airbnb in Nairobi, Kenya be the same as Airbnb in Mexico City? So it doesn't really make sense from a user perspective either to have this really giant corporation setting the same standards and same rules for every city and every market in the world. So there is one user advantage. One advantage to the users for that is that they just need one login. But that's something that we're working on at Origin Protocol. That every one of the marketplaces that's building on our platform, you'll be able to access all of them with an Origin account. So we call this the shared network effect. We don't want to make users have to sign up for a million different accounts and buy a million different tokens to access all these different marketplaces. We want to make it as easy as possible. So
what you're saying is really interesting because when you were talking, I kind of synthesized this because we got to the same conclusion. Centralized corporations scale very well, but they don't localize very well. That's what you're basically saying, right? And we were discussing how can we, for instance, manage claims like Airbnb style. And we kind of came to the conclusion that if we have local people deciding on claims, they're going to be able to take a better decision. So I'm really happy you're saying that because it means we kind of got to the same conclusion at the same time. That's really good.
My vision is that there's going to be a lot of decentralized marketplaces for a lot of different niches, a lot of different products, and a lot of different localities. Like I said, like it really doesn't make sense that Airbnb Rome is exactly the same as Airbnb San Francisco. Yeah. They're different cities. They have different requirements, different people involved. So
that's really powerful. It's probably more powerful than what we understand right now. That could be actually the killer peculiarity which makes this a success.
Yeah, and the way Airbnb operates now, they have to have these like local teams, and they're just this giant behemoth, and it's very difficult for them to manage all these different marketplaces as one marketplace that one size fits all. It's very difficult for them to do this. I know like, in certain countries, Airbnb is banned. In certain areas, Airbnb and Uber have failed because they didn't localize. Like Uber sold their Chinese presence to another company because they failed to gain traction there because they didn't adapt to the local market. And I think having a decentralized model allows for people to serve local markets better.
Okay. Listen, so what about people who are listening to you now? They are hosts, they are property managers, they are guests. Can they get involved already, or should they wait for something to be like launched? What would you suggest to people listening to you if they want to get involved with Origin Protocol right now?
it's never too early to start getting involved and start learning about what we're building, start learning about decentralization and blockchain in general. Uh, One of the first steps would just be going on our website, originprotocol.com. You can join our Telegram, and we have a very active community. You can, like I said, we're an open source project, and that's kind of our philosophy for everything. Like we're happy to talk to our community members, share articles, share ideas with them, and yeah, right now hosting, converting your existing home sharing business to Origin Protocol right now would not be possible, but we're hoping for around the middle of the year that you can at least start thinking about it. And we're building this for the long term, and we really want to do it right. So we want everyone's opinion and feedback, and you can be part of the conversation that helps decide what these protocols look like.
Great. Okay. Thank you very much, Coleman. It was very short but very intense. I hope we can keep talking in the future, and I wish you good luck with your very, very big project.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.